Hey, everybody, it's John Moore, and welcome to the Texas College Football Show, which is covering Texas colleges that are Division One and FBS. A lot of you guys have started following the channel. You've started following me on the YouTube channel on Fanatics View, which we're part of Fanatics View now up there. We're also you're following me at Recliner Nerd. If you look down below, follow those the Texas College FBS. That's our Twitter page for the show, and then of course Fanatics View over there. But you can follow me at Recliner Nerd both on Instagram and Twitter. So we've done a coaches countdown, the top coaches from 13 to 1. There are 13 schools that in Texas that play in Division One FBS football that are eligible for the college football playoffs. Then we counted down the quarterbacks from 13 to 1. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're not going to do a countdown, but we are going to look at coaches. And what we're going to do is we're looking at coaches' seats. Now, I've got a criteria, and I want to go over it right here. These are the coaches' seats and where they sit. So coaches, everybody's heard of a coach being on a hot seat. If you're on a hot seat, that means that, put up or else. I mean, this is your year. You need to prove something or you are going to be gone. In my out of the 13 coaches I have right now, I have one that is sitting on a hot seat, and we'll talk about him in a little bit. Then there's the warm seat. You're not necessarily put up or else, but there are grumblings. It means you have been here a while. You have had some success. You are not having necessarily the success they think you should. And so maybe you're not hearing it, but there are regents and people within the university that are starting to talk and grumble about, could we go out and get somebody better? I have two coaches that are sitting on a warm seat. So we've got one hot seat. We've got two warm seats. Now, cool. Cool means you're okay. That means you've got a secure job, but very easily, if something happens, obviously somebody that is cool, sitting on a cool seat, is someone that has been at the university for a few years, at least a couple of years. But now, you could very easily get a warm seat depending on what happens this year. You're not necessarily going to get on a hot seat by the end of the year, but anybody could get on a hot seat if something collapses or goes wrong. But on a cool seat, it's very easily to slip into the warm seat on a cool seat, meaning that you're okay and everyone loves you, everything's good. But let's see if you start to have some failures. Maybe you're not doing what everyone thought you should do. Maybe that seat could warm, and by the time this off season comes and the season ends and you're heading into next year, your seat might be a little cozier under your buns than you would have liked. Now, I've got three coaches that are sitting on the cool seat. So we've got one on the hot seat, two on the warm seat, and then three on the cool seat. Now there's the cold seat. The cold seat means you're safe. Everyone loves you. What you're doing is great. And there are two coaches. There are 7 coaches that are sitting right now that have no job insecurity right now. A couple of them, it's just by what they've done. And it's hard to argue with it. And you guys, they've been at the university for a little bit. And so it's very hard for you to argue with the fact that their job is totally secure right now. Of the 7, couple of them are, in fact, there's two. There are 2 of them that this is their first year. And if it's your first year, yes, you don't have anything to worry about. You're basically coming in. You got hired in the off season. Your recruiting was hampered, if you even have good recruiting, because you might be at a university where it might be a little tough to recruit. But you're going to be good this year, but we're going to see what happens after the season, what kind of recruiting you have when you have a full year, all of that. You're not going anywhere. Your seat is safe. And the others that are on the cool, there's a couple of them where this is their second year that they're going to be at the university. Maybe they didn't have success last year, or they did better than they thought they should have last year. And things are certainly looking up with what's going on. Those guys, it's pretty easy to see why they are pretty secure in their job right now. Now, I don't look or relish anybody losing a job. I never want to see anybody lose a job. But what we want to do is just be honest. This is my opinion of where these people are. And so, you could be you could think totally wrong. We're going to do preview shows for every one of these universities. I'm going to have people on that cover the teams in some way or fashion, or they're huge, or podcast about them or whatever. They may disagree with where I have their coach sitting, and they may disagree with where I have their team finishing. Those are going to start recording next week, hopefully get dropped after that. So let's start off. We're going to start with the cold seats. There's 7 of them. We're going to do this in alphabetical order. That way there's no specific way to do it. You've already seen the coaches countdown. But let's go to the cold seats, and the first one's going to be Scott Abell, who is at Rice this year. This is his first year. It's hard to argue with Scott Abell. Rice did not have a good season last year. He's had success at Davidson and other places. And so he's coming in. This will be his first year. There's really nothing he could do to get fired this year unless there was some sort of misconduct or something like that. That could obviously get someone fired. But, it could, depending on what happens this year, he'll probably stay cold next year in this situation, just because you really you're at a university where it's tough to win. Let's see what you do this year and what you do next year. After next year, things could start to heat up a little bit underneath there, but I think this guy's certainly safe. Another one that's cold in alphabetical order is Mike Elko. Obviously, Elko comes in last year and did 8-5. He went 8-5 last year. It's hard to argue with success with that. After Jimbo Fisher and the disaster that was Jimbo Fisher, it was really nobody knew what Elko would do coming in, and he had a good season. They were actually playing Texas for a chance to go to the SEC championship. I don't think anyone saw that. Mike Elko's they love him there, and why not? His recruiting, right now he's got a top 5 recruiting class. Him and Texas are neck and neck in recruiting for the 2026 class. He's also done good in the transfer portal, and he's done really well. He's got a quarterback this year that started most of his games. It's hard to argue with what Elko's doing. Texas A&M is doing well with Elko. This may finally be the right hire. We'll see. Now, could his seat warm up? Of course. Let's say they come in and go 7-5 this year, 6-6, 7-5. I don't think so. You are going to see where I have them predicted. But let's say it happens, and it could. They come in and lose some games they shouldn't. They don't look like they are. Maybe Marcel Reed isn't what we think. Because I think the defense will be fine. Elko's a defensive coach, and so I think the defense will be fine. But if they can't score and things happen and they roll into 6-6, 7-6, he will not get fired, and nor should he get fired if this team were to go 500, 7-6, something like that. But you may start to hear a few grumblings, or that seat may cool off just a little bit going into 2026 and see where he picks up. But right now, this guy's safe. I don't think there's any way you could argue with this guy and whether or not he's safe. The next one's going to be Willie Fritz at Houston. Now, Willie's coming into his second season, but last year he went 4-8. He gets a pass on the 4-8. This is a guy that has a long history, 32 years of coaching. He has had success all the way throughout. He started at Blinn Junior College. He went through some smaller schools coming all the way up. He was at Tulane, where he won at Tulane. He didn't win a conference, but he did well at Tulane before taking the Houston job. He's going to be given a chance to build the team the way he wants to because of the successes he's had, and he's had it at the FBS or CFP level with Tulane. He had some success there. So Willie's going to have a chance to come in and do what he wants. 4-8 last year is no indication. He went out and got Connor Weigman, a 5-star quarterback, to come into Houston this year. So it's obviously something that shows a little bit of promise in what he's doing. Now, NIL money and stuff, it's at a place like Houston isn't going to be as good as other places. You're going to have to pay more for good athletes to come there, but it's what you do with those athletes and the wins you can produce. So that's obviously one. Alphabetical order, that's why they're going this way. We've got 3 more that are cold. Let's go with this one is Rhett Lashley. Hard to argue here. Let's be honest where Lashley is. This is his first time as a head coach, but he's been this is his 4th season at SMU. He's 29-12 overall. But last year, look what he did. He got all the way to the CFB playoffs with talent far less than anybody else that made the college football playoffs. They did get rolled over in that playoff game, but he's got a lot coming back. Rhett's safe. Rhett could go 6-6, 7-6, and his seat might start to cool a little bit, but he's not going to get fired. His job is secure. They love him there, and he's had success there. He's had winning seasons there, and he's done really well, and it's hard to argue with what he did last year. Another one, there's 3 more that are on the cold seat. This one is a new first-year coach, so it's hard to argue with him, and that's going to be Phil Longo at Sam Houston State. This is first year, guys. He's going to come in. He could go 0-12, and they're going to at least give him one more year after that to see what happens. This is that year where it's make or break. Let's see how he does. He's an offensive-minded coach. If the offense looks horrible, then they might rethink where they are, and he could get on a warm seat pretty good, but he's not going to get fired after 1 year. He's going to come in there. Sam Houston has had relative success there. They have not been a doormat, although they're new to Division I. They just went up a few years ago. So Phil Longo is going to come in and be given a chance to lead that team. He was the offensive coordinator there back in 2014, 15, something like that. He was at Wisconsin before coming back to Sam Houston. So he's not going to get fired after this year, no matter what happens. But Phil Longo is safe, but it's his first year, so why not? Next, we have Steve Sarkisian. Obviously, there's a reason. He's made the 2 college football playoffs and made the semifinals the last 2 years. His recruiting classes have been unbelievable. He's building a power at Texas. Now, could his seat hit up? Of course it could. It's not going to heat up if he goes 8-5, 9-3, which would be disasters in the eyes of any University of Texas fan, including myself. It would be horrible to see a team go 7-6. 7-5, 8-4, somewhere in there. It would be horrible. It's possible that this is they're an injury away from having to scramble, although they've got some good depth at every position. They've got some question marks on the offensive line. Arch Manning really hasn't been tested yet, although most think he's going to be good, including myself. But his job is safe. He just signed a big extension. People love what he's doing there. He would be given a chance if this did not do what they thought. There's still a lot of people with the recruiting class and everything else that are going to give him a pass and let him go and see if he can't turn it around after a year. Because I don't care who you are. Nick Saban was an anomaly. Everybody else is going to have seasons where things don't fall their way. But this guy has come in and improved the team every year that he's been there. 5-7 the first year, 8-4 the second year. Then he goes 13-2 or 12-2, whatever it went. And then last year, what he did last year, won the Big 12, got to the SEC championship in his first year, got to the semifinals, should have won that or came close to winning against Ohio State. If they didn't have the fumble TD when Ewers got sacked, they were driving. They were down there looking to get back in this game. And they lost by 2 touchdowns, but they were close to tying it up coming towards the end there. But his seat is cold. One more guy whose seat is cold, and that's out at UTEP, and that's Scotty Walden. Let me tell you why his seat's cold. He's only been there 1 year. He was 3-9, and he had some good recruiting. He came and got Malachi Nelson, the former 5-star from Boise State, is coming in. This is another guy that recruiting at UTEP's tougher. NIL's tougher. There's not a lot of money to spread around at a school like UTEP. But this is a school right here that Scotty Walden has come in from Austin Peay. He's, his quarterback's there. He's got Malachi Nelson that's going to do that. His seat is safe, even if he goes 3-9 again, which I think they're going to do better. You'll see on my preview. I think this may be a bowl team this year. They have a chance to be a bowl team, but I think Walden is safe this year. He's still at least another year away before we start seeing it cool. Remember, that's cooling is the next one, or you start to get cold, or not cold, or it starts to warm up a little bit. Now we're going to go into the cool segment. Cool is you are safe. And if you remember what we said, it's basically, go back and look at the chart. Cool is you're okay, but meaning you're good. But if things don't go great or go good and we don't see improvement, then something can happen. Maybe we start to warm up a little bit. First on that list is going to be G.J. Kinney from Texas State. Look, Kenny is 16-10 there. This is his third season. He was 8-5 last year, 5-3 in the Sun Belt Conference. They're moving to the Pac-12 next year. So that, he needs to show something this year. 8-5, 5-3, that's pretty good, especially for another school that's just moved up in the last, I think, 10 years that they've been at Division I at the CFP level. But he's winning ball games there. He's 16-10 in his first 2 years. I think people want to see. So he's been 8-5 2 years in a row. They would like to see that get a little better. He's still safe. But what if this team goes 5-7, 6-6, 7-5, something like that? Could that seat start to warm up? Hey, they're going into the Pac-12. Maybe going into the Pac-12. I know the Pac-12 isn't what it used to be, but maybe they start to think that job is a little more attractive, and maybe somebody ponies up a little more money from Texas State to do that, and then we see where it goes. I think he's totally safe. He won't get fired after this year in any way unless something unforeseen happens. But I don't think he's totally safe. I think he's got a cool seat, meaning he is good, but let's see what happens. There's another coach who I love. I had him ranked as the number 3 coach, if you guys remember that. He's out at Texas Tech, and that's Joey McGuire. Now, Joey McGuire is here for one reason and one reason over. He hadn't won more than 8 games. Now, I think he has built something there, and it takes a while. And if you want to compete at a national level, he's finally got some backing for NIL from the rich donor. But, I looked back at Leach. Mike Leach in his first 2 years went 7-6 and 7-5. 7-6 meaning he played in the bowl game and lost the bowl game. And 7-5 the next year. Then he went 9-5 that third year. McGuire's gone 8-5, 7-6, 8-5. So, here we go with Joey only winning 8 games in no more than 8 games. Mike Leach only won 9 games a couple of times. Then he had 2008 season where he went 11-2. That one year when they beat Texas, ended up playing, and then they went and got rolled by Oklahoma the next week. Just got rolled like 63-3, something like that. But they beat Texas out there in Lubbock when Texas was undefeated and the number 1 team in the country, and they got all the way up to Tech got up to number 2 or 3 in the country that year with Mike Leach. McGuire is building something good. They've got some talent there. They've got a quarterback that's coming back for a 3rd year of starting. He's missed some time with injuries, but he's 3rd-year starter. They've got some stability there. They've had some NIL moves. They really built this team with some NIL coming in. And a lot of people are expecting Texas Tech to do well this week. Joey McGuire's job is safe. But let's say this team comes out and lays an egg. Let's say they go 5-7. Let's say they go 6-6. Let's say they go 8-5 again. Something to that effect. Could there start to be some grumblings? Yes. I think Texas Tech, with a donor that's a billionaire, I think there's a point where that billionaire goes, do you want my money? Then you need to hire somebody that's going to come in here and turn this around. Remember what they did in basketball? They went out and got Bobby Knight, threw some money at him and brought in this Hall of Fame name to come in. Is there a guy out there that maybe he's not in coaching anymore, wants to coach some more, and someone can money whip him, some billionaire, to come in there and take it over? They've apparently, look what they're doing in softball. They went out and spent $1 million on a couple of players, and they're building a powerhouse softball team that made it to the finals in the College World Series this year before losing to Texas. But, I think he's safe. I think what he's doing is good, and I think Texas Tech is poised for a good year, but his seat is cool as far as I'm concerned, just because there's a point where they look at it and go, what have you done for me lately? And that's the unfortunate part of this business. Now let's go to the last one that's cool. The last one that's cool, Jeff Traylor, UTSA. They love him at UTSA. They really do. But what's he done? He's 7-6 and 4-4 in conference last year. He's had a couple of good years in Conference USA before they went over to the AAC, and went out to the AC, I guess it's the American Conference. I just saw where that went down a couple of weeks ago. Anyway, look, Jeff Traylor, I love Jeff Traylor, high school coach at UTSA now. I think his job is relatively secure, but this is another school that's starting to They went to the College World Series this year. They beat Texas in the regional and went to the College World Series in baseball. Their athletic program is starting to get a little more money into it. There are some pro athletes now that have come out of UTSA, both in football and baseball. They are building an athletic program there. And Jeff Traylor, I mean, he's safe, but could it warm up? Let's see what he does. Anything can warm up. He's safe. He's not going to get fired after this year, but let's say he does come back and doesn't get above 7-5 or 6-6, something like that. Let's be honest. They're going to A&M the very first game of the year where they're likely to lose that game. They're probably going to lose. So that's going to start with one loss right there. Could they beat A&M? Sure. I mean, I think if there's any school on the cupcake schedule that could beat another team, it might be UTSA that could surprise A&M, but I just don't think they have the horses in the barn. They don't have enough. They've got a returning quarterback. So I would never bet a dime that A&M not only wins, but doesn't cover that game. But that's going to be a loss to start the season right there. And kudos for them to going out and playing. They played Texas last year. They're playing A&M this year. It's a payday for that sports department and athletic department. I'm glad they did it, but let's see how he does this year. That seat might cool a little bit and do that. Now we're going to go to the warm seats. So what is the warm seats? Your seat's not hot. In other words, it's not put up or shut up, but it's as close to put up as shut up as there is. It's as close as there is, meaning there are grumblings among the people that run your athletic department. You're not hearing it. You have had enough success that people are in your corner, but there are some people going, okay, look what we did 1 year or 2 years, and why are we seem to be, our trajectory doesn't seem to be going forward, seems to be going backwards. Why are we not doing any better than we are? And that's two guys right now that I see that are on that warm seat. First one's going to be Dave Aranda from Baylor. And I mean, this is simple. He's 31-30. This is his 6th season. He's only one game over 500. You got to remember that, he went 2-7 his very first year that he took over the program. Then he goes 12-2, 7-2 in conference, the second year in the Big 12, and won the conference. I think he went to was it the Sugar Bowl that they won? After that, he had a great year. Then he comes back. He goes 6-7. He goes 4-5 in conference. Then he went 3-9, 2-7 in conference. Started last year horrible. Came back and finished 8-5 and 6-3 in conference. But I think they were in 5th place in the Big 12. But this school, they think they should compete for a Big 12 title. I do too. I think that Baylor is a school that has the talent to do this. And so I don't understand, this is a job that doesn't pay below scale market. This is a job that can pay you anywhere from $5 to $10 million. He's probably making 6 or 7 at that job. When you're getting that kind of money, they're going to demand results. And this is a guy that if results don't happen, this seat could get hot really quick. If they come back, and I think he's got to at least go 9-3. I think so. If not, 8-5, I don't think it's going to cut it, especially if in conference, they're 6-3 again, or they don't win or compete for the Big 12 title. Now, look, you could be 8-5 and then come in and still make it to the conference championship, just because all your wins are coming in conference. I don't think their schedule lines up that way, but let's just say that it did. Aranda's on a warm seat. I think he's not on a cool seat. I think he's on a warm seat, and I think it could get hot really quick if he doesn't put up or shut up. There's another guy that's in this same boat, and that's Sonny Dykes. I like Sonny. Look what Sonny did a couple years ago, 2022. He led them all the way to the national championship game. They beat Michigan in the semifinal game. They get to the national championship and just get wiped out by Georgia. I mean, it was not pretty. That game was over within 5 minutes. It was basically over. They were not going to be a team to catch up and play that. Sonny has not done too good after that. He had a year that was down. Last year he was 9-4 and he was 6-3 in conference. Look, when you get a taste of the college football playoffs, and he did, when you win in the college football playoffs, and he did, and when you're in the Big 12, that's a Power 5 conference, and teams that pour money into their athletic department, and TCU does, they're going to expect you to win the Big 12 or to come close. I think next year, I think in 2025, I think he's got to win 9 games to keep his job. I really do. I think he's at a point where that he may have to show that this team is looking up. Now, they got Josh Hoover coming back. They're not going to be fresh at quarterback. They've got a returning starter at quarterback. Sonny Dykes is an offensive genius. I actually think that they'll do okay. I've got them doing pretty good. We'll do that when we have Jamie Plunkett on to talk about and preview the TCU Horned Frogs this year. I do like what I'm going to see out of there, but that seat's warm, and don't think there aren't grumblings within that organization of do we need to look to go elsewhere, maybe get somebody else in here. That's only if he doesn't do what he should do. So look, for a guy that took you to a CFP playoff, you earned some grace off of that, but now we're coming into the 3rd season after that, and you didn't even play for the Big 12 championship the last 2 years. I think there's a point where they start to go, hey, you know what? What have you done for me lately? What have you done for me lately? All right, the last one is the hot seat. This is put up or else. Look, this is never fun to do for anybody, but there's one guy that I have who is right now completely and totally sitting on a hot seat. And I think that he has got to do something this year. There has been other coaches who have had some success there, but nothing big, but he is not even doing that. That's going to be Eric Morris at University of North Texas. He's coming into his 3rd season. He is 11-14. He has not had a winning season since he's been there. He does have Possenbarger, whatever the quarterback's name is, that's coming in this year. He's from the University of Miami that backed up Cam Ward. Possenbarger, I believe was his name, coming in to probably take over at the QB job. Eric Morris is an offensive guy, played at Texas Tech, but you can't lose every year. That's not going to keep you there. This seat's about as hot as they come. What does he have to do to keep his job? I think he's got to make a bowl game. I think he's got to make a bowl game. I don't think 4-8 gets it, 5-7 gets it, 6-6 might keep his job. That's possible, but I think he's got to at least be 6-6, 7-5. Anything above 6-6, 7-5, he's probably going in the right direction, and maybe he keeps his job. But that seat right now has got to be hot. The problem that you have is, who do you go get? This is not a job that's going to pay huge money for a head coach. This is a job that I don't know. I don't think that this was a bad move when they went and got him. He came out of Incarnate Word when they hired him there. That's where you go with UNT. It's a Division I school. You've got to find somebody that's innovative, because you are not going to have the athletes of the Power 5 schools. So you have to do good with what you got. Your best way to increase your thing is you got to be good on the transfer portal. So you got to get some guys in that maybe are getting lost in the shuffle somewhere else, and you can get them to your school. But the transfer portal is competitive, and if you don't have a lot of NIL money, I don't know what to tell you. Then that might just be it. So we'll see. I'm not pulling for anybody to ever get fired in any way whatsoever, but I think the guy who's most likely to get fired this year is going to be Eric Morris. Unfortunately, at the University of North Texas. Second to that is probably Aranda, and third to that is maybe Sonny Dykes. Those guys need to improve. Morris is worse than any of them. The other two, it's just some grumblings, and that seat's warm. Well, that gets it for that one, guys. I noticed my background here. I don't. For those that don't know, I do cover the Texas Rangers for another outlet, DLLS, and this is my home studio. A lot of times you'll see this different. I'll have stuff from here. I started to move all this off the wall, but I mean, the Texas Rangers aren't going to – that's who I cover, and I'm a fan of. I am a fan of, and that's not going to interfere with Texas college football. You guys send me some stuff to put behind me. I'll happily put it up here at the home office. I've got another studio that's at my office, and that one has nothing on the wall. Guys, I appreciate this. It's always fun to do these. I always love doing this. Give me some ideas of some other countdowns you want to see. I'm thinking of some stuff in the Texas football Division I schools. Is there anybody besides Arch Manning, who everyone's talking about, that has a possibility to win a Heisman Trophy? I think so. There's a few guys that could possibly slide in out of nowhere and at least make it to New York. There's not a lot, because I still think you got to be on a winning team that does really well. But could there be? Sure, there could be some guys that do that. That might be something we do there. Maybe who from each school, the incoming freshmen, is that something you want to see that might make an impact immediately? We'll probably talk about that with the preview shows and the guys that cover the team. We'll throw some names out there and see who might help them or who in the transfer portal might help them. But this has been fun. The feedback's been fantastic. Guys, leave a message down there. I have 2 YouTube things that I get on, and I am not with I'm with Fanatics View, but I would have to answer your questions from there. Go and follow those down below at Recliner Nerd, both on Instagram and Twitter. Hit that Texas College FBS. That's the show right there on Twitter, and then on X, both of those on X, and then Fanatics View, obviously, at Fanatics View on X. Go follow us there. These will come out. Hit that YouTube channel. Do all of that. Guys, this is always fun to do. I've enjoyed it so much. And until next time, guys, we'll see you at the gridiron.